announcement for the announcement. And when you're popping like 4-star Aydin Breland, that's exactly what you do. The Cali defensive lineman is going to let the country know on October 14th where he plans to attend college. Aydin Breland, number 5 ranked defensive lineman in America. Also, he narrowed his list of schools down to just 3. It's Georgia, Oregon, and Miami. Now, guys, subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We got this thing popping. You guys are a part of it. I appreciate it. Go ahead, hit subscribe. All right, let's get this thing going and bring on Jake Rowe, Dogs HQ. Jake, what do you make of the timing of all this? Why do you think he's ready to do it now?
Well, you and I got together here a little while back, and it wasn't that long ago. And, I told you that our information was like this thing wasn't really going to make it till November.
Yeah.
And sometimes these guys really cooperate, and they make you look like you know what you're talking about. And he did that just a few days later. Said, listen, he's going to make his decision on October the 14th. Man, all signs point right now toward Georgia being in that catbird seat. It's a tough, man. It's tough to really nail down recruitments now because everybody's got a card to play. And, I'm one of those folks that thinks, hey, man, if you lose because of whatever reason, even if it's NIL, you lose, because You've got the ability to do the same thing. You're playing on a level playing field.
The game's the game, Jake. The game is the game.
And it hadn't changed. It hasn't changed. The NIL has changed it for everybody at once. So everybody's competing. But I think Georgia going into these final 10 days or so is in a very, very good spot. They got that last visit. They got the unofficial visit. They got the voluntary visit. I'm not even sure based on what the Ohio State AD said here recently that you can call it on their own dime anymore. You just say, hey, he got the voluntary visit. He chose to visit Georgia during his bye week, I should say, and that was a big step. Nate Frazier did the same thing over the summer, and that was part of the reason that combining that with what you were hearing behind the scenes is why you like Georgia for him, their teammates. I've been told to hear lately that that's even a little bit bigger of a deal than maybe originally thought or maybe is normally the case. And Georgia has a chance here with another couple of guys at another elite program. They got, Justin Williams and Joseph Jonah Ajanye from the same school in this class, 2 elite prospects. I think they're in really good shape to do it again. I haven't yet put in an RPM pick. But, getting a little bit closer by the day, with every day that goes past and you're here and you don't hear anything to the contrary, you feel more confident in Georgia's chances.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the recruiting prediction machine. Georgia has a lead at 26%. It's not a huge lead right now. Georgia's sitting at 26%, Oregon at 20%. You got Miami there at 14%. Do you agree with the RPM right now?
No, I think that I think right now, I think Georgia's probably a little bit bigger of a lead than that, first of all. But I get my gut feeling says, and this is not where my intel, I'm not hearing intel to the contrary, but I'm not really getting a whole lot to support this either. My gut feeling says Miami is probably the biggest challenger to Georgia at this particular moment. Yeah. Just based on some, just some things, just putting together some things on this. I feel like if he really wanted to be at Oregon at this point, that there would have been a kind of a visit there, or there would have been a way to kind of make that happen with them being a lot closer and a shorter flight and all that stuff. He hasn't done that. I think he does kind of want to get away. I think Miami, listen, coming out of that Georgia official visit back in June, Miami was the team that was really laying in the weeds there. And folks felt like, hey, that's the team you got to watch out for. Oregon's been a constant. Dan Lanning's a phenomenal recruiter. But as we've talked about this before, that modern day, trio right there that a lot of folks thought that was going to end up at Oregon seems to be kind of slipping away a little bit.
Yeah, when we look at the RPM too, I agree. I think Miami's sitting there at 14% is a little deceptive. I think that Miami's a little desperate on the trail, especially when it comes to defensive linemen. I mean, they missed on Dylan Stewart. They missed on David Stone. They missed on they could be slipping away with Aydin Breland. Cameron Franklin is a big one that they missed on. And they really need defensive linemen in this class. So I do think Miami is maybe the dark horse in this one, but I do agree with UGA where they sit on the RPM as we're about 2 weeks out. So that being said, if this does go in Georgia's direction, can they still find a spot for 5-star LJ McCray? Because he's still sitting out there, and he's also going to make a decision sometime in the month of October, probably after Aydin Breland. But, I mean, it's coming down to the wire with another 5-star defensive lineman. Is there room for him?
Dude, let me tell you something. If LJ McCray wants to come to Georgia, right here, right there, they're going to open their arms like this right here, and he can come right in here, and they'll hold him. They're like a child. They would love him. They would love to have him in this class. I mean, Georgia's out there for D linemen, man. I mean, they've got a couple of JUCO offers out to a couple of guys I really like. I don't necessarily know that Georgia is just hurting for defensive linemen as much as they see an opportunity just to pounce.
Right.
Because Michael Borio is another one. Michael Boreau, he's another guy that out of Creekside
recently decommitted from the Florida Gators.
Right, massive human being. They want him. They want to keep Nnamdi Oboko, from South Carolina, I believe, in this class as well. So they're trying to keep it all in. They're after the JUCO guys. Georgia's got plenty of room on the D line. I think what they're fearing is that they've only got one guy on the entire roster that has to leave after this year. They've only got one guy that's completely out of eligibility, and that's Tramel Wildfire, defensive end. So they know they got to fill that edge spot. But, you've got Nazir Stackhouse, Warren Brinson, Zion Logue. I mean, they could lose upwards of about 4 or 5 defensive linemen, in this class, at least 4, and maybe 5 or 6 if some guys, you got transfer portal too. So, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure all their bases are covered there. They're a really good developmental program with defensive linemen. They're saying, hey, let's get them in, let's turn them into studs, and then we'll cut them loose to the NFL one day, and they'll help us recruit.
Well, man, this defensive line class has a chance to be really just insane if they can land a quality prospect like an Aydin Breland, not to mention LJ McCray. Jake Rowe, we'll talk more Georgia defensive line coming up. We still got just under 2 weeks before 5-star Aydin Breland makes his announcement on October 14th. But for today, thank you for dropping the intel on the Inside Scoop.
Anytime, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.